Howdy, gents. Welcome back to another episode of the Wolf and Iron Podcast. It's Truck Talk Thursday. Happy Truck Talk Thursday to you all. Hope you're having a good week. Hope you're making yourself a better man. Hope you've been able to connect with your family some this week and make a difference in somebody's life. I tell you guys, there's no greater feeling than some of the responses that I get from you guys from the podcast. Every once in a while, one of you will reach out to me and say, Mike, your podcast has really just made a big difference in my life. It's helped save my marriage. It's helped me as a man. It's helped me to make decisions about what I want to do with my life, all kinds of things. And I'll tell you guys, if you haven't had that experience, if you haven't had the experience of making a true impact on somebody else's life, then I think you're missing out. That is a sense of fulfillment that is difficult to find elsewhere. And it's one of the reasons that I do this. So I love doing this with you guys and for you guys and for myself as well, because I get a chance to think about some things and talk through some things that I think are important and that men need to hear. Listen, if you think men need to hear this podcast, if it's meant something to you, feel free to share it. Please do. Help get the word out. There's guys out there that need to hear this kind of stuff, that don't really have men in their life speaking to them, and they need all the help they can get. And you can make a difference in their life. So one day they'll come and thank you for letting them know about the Wolf and Iron Podcast. So if you're new here, this is the Wolf and Iron Podcast. I am Mike Yarbrough, and I'm talking to you from my truck. That's why we call this Truck Talk Thursday. And as I record this, and before I release this, getting pretty close to St. Patrick's Day. And it got me thinking about luck and how luck works. And there's a great quote that I love from President James A. Garfield. And if you guys aren't familiar with him as a president, there's a great biography out about him, and they should definitely read. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it doesn't matter. On the cover of the book, he's wearing a hat. Maybe on the webpage for this podcast episode, I'll link to it. But anyhow, he would have been, I think, one of our greatest presidents. I really believe so. Had he not been shot early in his presidency and spent most of his presidency just trying to fight off the trying to recover essentially from the gunshot and the doctor's probings and all this other kind of stuff, trying to find the bullet. Anyhow, he's got a great quote, and it says, "A pound of pluck is worth a ton of luck." I love it. A pound of pluck is worth a ton of luck. You know, pluck isn't a word that we use that much, but it's like old school word for gumption and stick-to-itiveness and the willingness to just get out there and do and take action and make things happen. And he's absolutely right, guys. A pound of pluck is worth a ton of luck. And I was thinking about this. You know, there are a lot of people out there in the world. I'd say the majority of the people that you meet would love to be discovered. They want to be discovered. They want somebody to come up, to show up, and to say, oh my gosh, you're so amazing at whatever it is that you do. I want you to be a part of this thing. You think about the guy who's out cleaning windows or sweeping the street, if people still do that, I don't know. And maybe he's whistling a tune, or maybe he's singing to himself. And, you know, doesn't matter what age he is, he would love for somebody to come along and say, oh my gosh, you've got an amazing talent there. You sound amazing. Could you come and sing this jingle for our commercial? Could you come, sing a little song? Let's get you in the studio here. We'll make you a hit, right? People would love that. Everybody wants to be discovered, but very few people want to put themselves out there. And, you know, pluck is all about getting out there, doing it, making it happen. So when you think about luck, what does luck mean to you? What do you want to be lucky in? You want to be lucky in your marriage? You want to be lucky with your kids? You want to be lucky with your finances? Well, you can spit in one hand and wish in the other and see which one fills up first, right? You guys, you can't rely on luck to make things happen for you. You need the pluck. You need the stick-to-itiveness, the get her done kind of attitude. Otherwise, you're going to be sorely lacking. You're going to be missing out on a lot of things in life. There were times in my life when I thought certain things just happened for certain people. You just got lucky. It was just fortunate for them to make $1 million. It was just fortunate for them to be born in the place that they were born and all this other kind of stuff and have whatever things come to them. And sure, there are things that are out of our control. There are privileges that we get that are out of our control. But there's a lot of things that are in our control. And for the man who's just sitting around waiting for something to happen, hoping that one day he makes it, one day he's discovered, one day he's finally gets his finances right, or that he gets his marriage right, it's just not going to happen, guys. luck should not be the driving force of success in your life. That should be fairly evident. I'll give you guys a quick story here about us making our first $1 million. Well, I don't want to say making our first $1 million, having our first $1 million in sales. It was October. I still remember this. It was October, and my wife and I were talking. We were working really hard with Rustic in Maine and getting this business off the ground, and we had finally gotten a building, and people were, joining our team, and we're growing, and we had a lot of sales coming in. And I remember thinking, you know what, I bet we'll hit $1 million by the end of this year. And I really hadn't looked at the year-to-date sales at that point for some time. We were just really busy, just doing the day-to-day stuff. I had already quit my job and had been out of, doing this work for some time. And things were looking up, and we were really excited. And we decided, okay, let's look at the computer real quick, and we'll hop over to our Shopify platform. That's where we do all of our sales. And we'll just see what the year-to-date looks like and see how close we are. And we had actually just broken over $1 million in sales. And it was surreal, I guess. It was a revelation. There are a couple of things I learned that at that moment. One, just because you've done $1 million in sales doesn't mean you have $1 million in the bank. Especially when you've got a small company that's starting up and you're investing money into it and that kind of stuff, and getting a building and getting it all set up for future success. But the other thing I learned was that something that which seemed such an astronomical number, something that seemed so out of reach, had now become essentially a baseline in a very short period of time for us. I remember taking a screenshot of that, and I sent it to my mom, and I circled the $1 million on there in sales, and I said, "You're not going to believe this." My mom and I, we used to dream together when Publishers Clearinghouse would come around, and we'd all think about what would we do if we had $1 million and Ed McMahon showed up on our front porch, and where would we go? What kind of house would we live in? What kind of cars would we drive? What kind of food would we eat? We would just think about these things, and it was a dream. It was an absolute dream, because to ever see a number like $1 million come from something that you had done, that was for somebody else. That was for other people. We were poor. I mean, we're living on government assistance and some family assistance, and my mom's working her butt off and working really, really hard, and it was tough. And so it seemed like that kind of success was something that could only come from mere chance, pure luck. And lo and behold, a high school dropout, poor kid, ends up running a business that's doing very well. Why? Because I had some pluck. Yeah. Fortunate. Yes. Godly. People coming into my life, and I give credit to them. But pluck, guys, you got to put the effort forward. You got to take action. You got to do things. You got to be sane. That's some Theodore Roosevelt coming at you. And so this St. Patrick's Day, as you're thinking about how much of your life you're just expecting things to just kind of line up, just to sort of happen, and for things to turn out okay, versus how much are you actually in the game? How much are you willing to take a risk, put yourself out there, get things done? It doesn't matter what your success idea is. It may be, I want to have a business that does $1 million in sales. It may be that I want to have a successful family, and I want to have a successful marriage, or I want my kids to be able to go to college, or I want my kids to be able to do whatever they want to do. How are you expecting to achieve those things? And if it's just that the stars are going to align one day and you're going to be discovered, or good things are going to come your way, guys, that's not going to get it done. You got to put yourself out there. Are you going to be one of the few people that actually makes things happen? I hope so. I believe so. Now, look, I do hope for some luck to come your way, especially this St. Patrick's Day. Maybe you will get, if you're married, maybe you'll get lucky, right? You know what I'm saying? But if you're eating a bunch of cabbage and corned beef, that kind of luck is probably not going to happen for you, buddy. I'm just telling you. So you need to plan ahead. As plucky as you may want to be, cabbage and corned beef are going to stop you in your tracks. All right, guys. That's all I got for you today. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I'll talk to you next Truck Talk Thursday.